Carson, look at that big, beautiful canary palm up on the hill behind the San Rafael mission.
Go straight and get closer if you want.
Isn't that cool? So, it's that tree right there. See that? Yeah. So anyway, the kid, that one, he's a construction management major from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and he's a working man today because he has a what?
I have a site visit.
Right.
Job site visit.
Right. Job site visit to learn how to build things.
Right.
And that's going to take you, what, an hour or so?
Yeah, something like that.
What's your dad going to do sitting around waiting for you while you're doing that?
Gonna check out the mission.
All right. Let's do it. I'm going to check out the mission. Let's do this.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. And there it is in all its glory. Mission de San Rafael de Archangel. Mission San Rafael Archangel. Not sure why they call it an archangel, but what a cool name. How about that? And of course, you've got your big old giant canary palms out front. It's really hard to say how old that is. The mission, I believe, was founded in 1812. We're going to go learn more about that from my buddy Omar, who takes care of the gardens here. He wanted me to come over and give him a consult. And I'm like, heck yeah, I wanted to go there anyway. And so, look at this. Look at that. This place is awesome. Another canary, couple canaries. There he is, the man of the hour. Step out into the sunlight, sir. Yeah. Everybody wants to see you.
Hi.
The world thanks you for taking such wonderful care of this wonderful mission.
We do what we can. Yeah,
This is Omar.
Place.
So Omar met me just a few minutes earlier while I dropped by to figure out where to park. And he was basically looking at me going, I had a beard just like that yesterday. And I said, oh, so you looked homeless too yesterday, which is why we're going to focus on you and not me, because it's so hideous. Anyway, let's go around and tell me everything you know. Like you actually have some connections to this place, right?
That's right. Well,
how's that work?
My family came up with Father Junipero Serra. They were part of the military attachment that came up with him, 200 or so years ago. More than that, maybe even. Anyway, my family settled in Santa Barbara.
Not a bad place to settle.
No,
smart people.
No, yeah.
One of my favorite places on earth.
And my ancestors, some of their grave sites are located at the mission there.
Oh, really?
So
I've been to that cemetery. That's my favorite
cemetery.
mission.
Yeah, it's interesting to see.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to do a little more research and find out about them, but
you should.
But yeah, so fascinating.
And your last name is Cain.
Cain, yeah. I mean,
that's unfortunate.
So it's going way back. Yeah,
you need like a Francisco Pizarro kind of cool Spanish name to pull that off. You know.
I'm actually a California mutt. Mixed in with Scotch, Irish,
like
and
the rest of
else.
us.
Yeah. But
right on.
And I started working here about 5 years ago as the maintenance man. My son went to the small little Catholic school over there, and now he's graduated. But I've stayed around, and it's a big place. We don't have a lot of funds, but we do what
That's
we
why
can.
you need to know guys that love missions and subtropical plants. And
that's right. That's
especially
making
northern missions look like the Santa Barbara mission with all the tropical stuff,
Right.
So I'm going to give you a great deal on anything you need for up here.
Thank you.
And if anybody else has a mission they need palms at, and you're working there, let me know. Omar might be the only person I know working on missions, but maybe I should call them all up.
Gary, what would your guess be on the age of these? I mean,
these trees can be highly variable in age. Okay. I've seen them get stuck in like those little ones that are growing in the trunk of the tree in there. See those little tiny ones? Mm-hmm. Those could sit like that. We'll show that. These are sprouting seeds from this female tree on the trunk of the tree itself. Because there's very limited nutrients and water availability in there, those trees can sit in there for 20, 30, 40 years just at that state. And then if they were gently taken out and planted, then they would start their progression into normal growthhood. And so the question is, how long can something sit like that on that, that deprived state?
interesting.
And so they could be like a crazy amount of years old. It all depends on how they were grown. Like I'd say if they were grown at the maximum possible rate, this tree here from a seed planted here is probably 35 to 50 years old. Okay.
And
Now,
that's a good question. I don't know if they're planted from seed or this
Yeah.
one we have pictures from I think the
30s?
or 40s.
and how big was it? Like 20
it
feet?
looked a little bit smaller than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that.
Yeah, so this is
picture.
probably mid 1800s for this tree here. This tree looks to me like it could be, it all matters how much they watered it and everything else.
Right.
But, you know, it could be as young as like 80 years old. It could be as old as 200. It's just
Okay.
really hard to tell. You can't really age these trees at all.
And what's
but,
what's the species of this?
That's a Canary Island date palm
Okay.
from the Canary Islands off of northern Africa
Okay.
out there. Yeah. So,
and what's the typical lifespan on something like this?
well, it's hard to say.
It's hard- yeah, it
Ultimately,
depends.
what ends up happening is the bottom has to rot out for it to eventually end its life.
Yeah.
Because the bottom ends up being so old. I mean, this part of the tree here is extremely old. So eventually, you start getting, deformities or whatever, and then it loses its structure. This one doesn't have any. It's in really good shape. So, but I would say at least 400 years, for these
Right.
trees. And so,
Hey, I want you to see this procession. They're coming out of the
oh, here we go.
procession that's going into the mission.
Uh-huh.
They do this every morning.
Oh, cool.
Proceed with the Holy Mystery.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
That's the bishop from the Philippines who's visiting.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Can anyone participate in this?
Yeah, well, they just basically walk from the church into the mission and put it in there all
Yeah.
day in the mission and take it back into the church. They have mass here every morning, so
Oh, that's
they
cool.
just finished mass and
Right
they're
on. And so, how did you get prompted into working down here?
well, because my son was going to the school there, and actually was baptized 2 years ago. So I
Uh-huh.
grew up. My religion growing up was California hippie. So.
Yeah.
which I still am. And,
Sort of describes me more or less.
And what converted me was the people. Just really good people.
Oh yeah,
Doing
no,
good
all
stuff.
the church systems are just wonderful for a community, no matter what your beliefs are,
Yeah.
And so this is pretty cool.
Just a
Guys
great
carrying the
community.
candle. Right on.
This is the daily mass goers. There are trudgers that come every morning at 8 a.m. and go to mass.
Nice. All right, well, let's take a look at the plants out here. Everyone's going to wonder, this is a plant channel. And as we go, I'm going to give you some ideas.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
basically it's like if Gary was in charge ideas.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So you got the sign right here, beautiful pond behind it, big old patch of dirt right there. That would be beautiful to have a small scale kind of bushy palm, like kind of filling that spot, create that sort of subtropical feel.
Right.
And then underneath this tree, and for that matter, maybe even the other one, you have this deep shade pattern, which allows you to pretty much plant any subtropical plant that you could ever conjure up
Oh.
because it provides all that protection from the big mother tree.
Right.
And so you could plant a bunch of Camadoria palms under there. You could plant tree ferns, beautiful tree ferns under there. They'd look gorgeous. And you could go, I could get these things in small sizes. You just slide them in and it won't cost hardly anything.
How big does a tree fern get?
Hopefully big.
They get pretty.
Well, they can get like 15 feet, but it takes like, 80 years or something.
Yeah.
But it would be beautiful filling in underneath this guy, like a little grove of them back in there.
Right.
So that's an idea. Look at this beautiful dissectum maple here. It's gorgeous. You've got your Distictus buccinatoria, red trumpet vine here. These things are great. You probably trim that a lot, huh?
We have to trim it a lot. Yeah.
They get out of
it's
control. I mean, they're great. I love them. But look, they're always doing this.
We got these old
They're always doing
junipers back there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For Juniperocera.
Right.
Right. But the same thing in this little enclave in here could have a bunch of these. We have these really beautiful kind of bamboo palms that could like kind of come up here and grace this area
Oh,
underneath this tree. That could be a really cool effect.
And what about fire hazard? Because that's the big thing in Marin right now is everybody's trying to make their buildings.
Yeah, they're no
like
more
bamboo, but I don't know.
No, it's not related to bamboo. It just looks
right.
like a bamboo. But there's no real fire hazard to it. I mean, there's like the junipers truthfully are that's the worst offending member here. Nothing that you would add would be anywhere near the flammability of the juniper.
Technically, the fire marshal would say we need to take those out too close to the building, but
well, I think there's some crazy new rule that says if you sell your house, you can't have any vegetation whatsoever within like 8 feet of it.
Wow.
But they're not enforcing it yet.
No, no.
Can you imagine that? Denuding all the plants.
And what about fire hazard with prawns?
Yeah, so this is
a fire hazard?
That is a fire hazard. Anytime you have brown fronds on a palm, because there's so much surface area and there's so much oxygen that can get around that surface area, it really is a good combustion source. The most fireproof plant of all is a palm tree that's well trimmed. When it's green, it's really hard for that plant to catch fire. Almost impossible. It has to be the whole neighborhood has to be going up in a firestorm for green foliage to ignite. But conversely, dead foliage on these trees is pretty fire hazardous. So that would be something you want to, if anything at all here, you want to spend resources on, that would be the one to do.
Now you need to get a good arborist that knows about not spreading disease.
Exactly.
Right?
You've got these bands up here, which are great. Prevents the rats from going up into the trees and eating the fruit or whatever to live up there. They can move diseases, in their mouth.
Gotcha.
And so that's a good thing you have that. But yeah, these trees have two problems actually. The first problem has been here for 10, 15 years. It's called Fusarium oxysporon canariensis. It's a fungus that if it gets into the tissue of the plant, and it does that through live wounds, which you would create if you pruned, usually from an infected sod that was moved from one tree to the other that had it. It gets introduced into the tree, and it's much like AIDS in the sense that it shuts down the plant's ability to move water, and it translocates through the whole system. And once it's in that system, it just moves around just like a bloodstream of a plant. And then it can cause, after anywhere from 1 to 5 years, slow death. So the trick is really, what I tell people is buy the $250 chainsaw from Home Depot, the Echo 310 14-inch, and devote that saw to each tree.
Specifically to each specific tree.
That's what I say, yeah. That's what I do. And
we could probably get away with just having it for just this property if none of them are diseased yet.
Exactly. That's it's just degrees of protocol.
Yeah.
I love the stone wall. Do you know when that was built?
I think it has a different life. This is one era, and then there's another era down there. Yeah.
It's really pretty. Just like
I think they might have used stone from this area, from the actual property itself too.
Oh, really? Wow.
Found when they did the excavation.
I do know that they mined this kind of stone, I think, out of a big nearby here.
Oh, okay. You recognize it?
Yeah, the same kind of material.
Right.
That could have been from that. But yeah, then this area back in here, you can add some plants like a philodendron would be gorgeous. Right in there, filling that hole. Beautiful.
What's that philodendron? Tree fern?
It's a philodendron psellum, or I even have a better one called philodendron soledad. It's this big, giant leaf tropical thing from Brazil. And you'll see them in tropical gardens, and the Spanish brought them up long ago. And you'll see them in gardens in Mexico.
Okay.
So what ultimately, it's like you're trying to create this fantasy Mexican,
right,
Veracruz mission style. It's like this whole thing is kind of a fantasy. So it's like,
and it did come up from.
Did you see our dead rat in front of the pantry?
Oh gosh.
Okay. Make sure to get that.
Yeah, we'll have that in.
Like it must ate some poison.
Look at that. Beautiful. Dissected maple right there.
There's a garden spider.
Oh yeah. You even got the beautiful garden spiders right there. Spiders love missions. All right, let's keep rolling around. So what's your biggest challenge on this site trying to take care of? Okay, here's a tree fern across the street. It's a New Zealand tree fern from New Zealand, but it looks great with the Spanish architecture things.
Yeah.
It's got that tropical look. But that's a pretty old plant right there. Like if you planted a 5-gallon, you wouldn't see it that big for 15 years.
Okay.
But you start somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
But a few of those around would be
We
really
have
cool.
one in a pot in the patio.
Oh, cool.
Similar, I think. I don't know the exact species.
Interesting, the little patterns they did on the wall here.
Yeah. But you know, it's you say fantasy, but in a way, it's not really fantasy because what you're
It's
doing.
real.
We came up from Mexico, right?
Right.
That's what this influence is.
Yeah.
So it's actually.
So it's real.
You're right. We're like, by.
It's real California.
We're like reminding ourselves of our history, right? That.
Yeah.
You know.
But they brought all that cool stuff up with them, which is so cool. They brought the palms, they brought the olives, they brought the citrus, they brought the grapes, they brought the beautiful architecture, like imported here from down south, which is kind of like, I don't know, it's my fantasy.
Right. No,
I love this architecture. Yeah.
It's your dream come true, right?
I know. I think all of California should look just like this. There should be like, in Santa Barbara, they have a rule after the big earthquake of 1913 that you can only rebuild in Spanish style.
Oh, okay. That's why it's so.
Everything there is
Yeah.
slowly becoming Spanish. Well, not slowly, pretty quickly. And then everybody else embraces, because once you have this kind of architecture replicated in different styles all over, it starts looking like these beautiful Spanish villages, that's all. Instead, here you just have all kinds of crazy different kind of architecture. I mean, this architecture is nice, but when you have a uniformity of architecture, you have like this thing, right across the street from that. I would rather have, if you go to Santa Barbara, that building there would be a beautiful mission style building. It would be
Mission
required.
style, yeah.
Yeah, and so if I was dictator, and I might run someday, you can vote for me. I would require that, all of California. It's also a good style here because it's all stucco. It doesn't burn. Tile roofs don't burn.
This is
so-
a reproduction. So the
Yeah.
original mission, is adobe, and those, if they're not cared for,
No, they fall apart.
pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
And then we had a beautiful Gothic style wooden church here. And then that, of course, like a lot of the churches of that time, burned down.
Okay.
And so they said, we better rebuild with like, concrete. So that pink church up there, the big one, they rebuilt that in 1919 with money from Hearst, actually.
Oh, great.
Helped with that. And
Right
then,
on.
and then this is actually this reproduction, which is a pretty close reproduction.
I like it.
Of the original footprint of the original mission, but it was in 1940, I think, is when they did this. But look here, is that a yucca?
That is a yucca.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
yucca filamentosa. You can actually eat the flowers off that. You can grill them up or just eat them raw.
Wow.
They're really good. Yeah, with a little bit of butter or olive oil.
Wow.
So keep that in mind when you get, things get rough.
It looks like lunch.
Yeah.
And then we got this Mexican.
Well, here I just wanted to say
Oh.
for the record, if Gary ran this place, he'd have at least one, if not three, king palms kind of coming up through here, gracing this sort of area here. If you really wanted to go Santa Barbara, so maybe even one right there between those windows going up.
We
Maybe
had
one
some
over here.
junipers here they took out.
Yeah, over here another grove of 3 right here in this corner. King palms would be. You really get the feel. Yeah. But yeah, this is the Mexican fan palm. So this is the one that I usually don't recommend because it just gets so tall. Here it's kind of cool because eventually it'll get so tall. You'll see, it's native to Mexico and to Baja. So you'll see, the missions in Baja, like every one of them has these.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're really sort of
Now, can
appropriate for the architecture.
Can you see the problem we're having with this one, Gary? We just trimmed it.
You just trimmed it,
I
yeah.
could look at the corner of the building.
Oh.
See that when it gets really windy.
Oh no.
Now, I don't know. Now that it's been trimmed, it will probably happen
Yeah,
less for
if
a
you-
while.
yeah, you-
Because it doesn't catch that wind, right? But
Yeah, so the fronds, I think Omar is alluding to the fact that the fronds fell down during a big windstorm and hit the corner of the...
it was
the gutter.
actually it was getting the trunk gets blown.
Oh,
Like,
no.
when it gets.
Wow.
I didn't think of that too. It could be that as well, but I think that is also.
I
happening.
can't imagine that trunk has that much movement in it. I want to see that. When that's happening, I
I'll
want
call
you to
you.
make a video.
Yeah.
I want you to wear a helmet because that means like 80-mile-an-hour winds and all kinds of trees are going to be falling down and bad things happening. I
Right.
love this cross with the rose here you have.
Yes, that is one of my favorite aspects.
We're gonna get a great shot of this if I just lay down on the grass. It's nice and wet. That's okay. I'll dry off. And then you get this shot right here, the cross. Like that.
It's beautiful.
Isn't that cool? Do you think the people driving by right now are wondering what I'm doing?
No, not in San Rafael. It's normal here.
It's normal. Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah. Right on.
We got some tropical.
Oh, yeah, look. Well, okay, so that's a regular bird of paradise. That's I say regular. It's the short bird of paradise from South Africa, and it's got that tropical kind of banana look to it. And you've got another one over there. A really fun plant to add here, like maybe right there, because there's very few windows, would be a giant bird of paradise.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also one back in that corner.
Would that be enough light though?
Oh yeah, they love low light conditions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, and then
Do they like heat though?
and I get a few. There's a dwarf philodendron called Xanadu that would be really pretty if you sprinkled in here, and then a giant bird of paradise back in there. Eventually,
No, they had a giant bird of paradise.
oh, I'll show you a picture after the video, so you're gonna want one.
Yeah.
And we can get these things literally in little 5 gallons for almost nothing.
Yeah.
Just stick them in the ground, and they'll grow.
Just wait, yeah.
I mean, if there's no, I tell people, if there's no budget, you just get the smallest thing that's almost free. Let it grow. Why
Yeah.
not? Got to start somewhere. But anyway, if you did that, it would eventually occupy this whole area. It would be gorgeous, and then be that one limb going toward the building there. Would probably have to come off to give it
Right.
some space.
Mhm.
Not right away,
It's
but
like
5 years from
olives,
now. And beautiful olive grove.
These are not doing very well. I don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah.
See,
You should yank. This is a big, giant, empty, no window building side here. This should be. This should also be king palms in here. They grow kind of taller, or maybe even types of trachycarpus. Come into my nursery, I'll show them to you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
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 these- I don't
See how
know
much
what's-
budget you can get, whether it's $100 or 10 grand.
Right.
And then tell
just-
people we have this beautification plan we're talking about.
Yeah,
Show them this
yeah.
video.
Show them the video.
Because
yeah.
these are ligustrum. They need to be, what you could do with these things, instead of just like cutting them out, you can cut them to grade. And sometimes they'll come up as a nice new little bush against the building.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so established because they have a big root system. But they certainly, the tops are done. They're not gonna,
I don't think they don't get enough water or light. See the little tips of the brown on the tips, or maybe they have
Yeah.
a disease. I'm not sure what's
yeah,
going on.
but you can sometimes rejuvenate them by cutting them down. It's called copicing.
Okay.
Yeah, you just like, there's one there, it's been cut down all the way, right there. And you'll do the same thing. But at the same time, you'll be planting, some of these palms in here, even if you just plant little ones. Because they'd be get something really tall and pretty against this wall here would be really nice.
Look at the honeybees on the.
I know, on the rosemary.
Rosemary.
Yeah. All right, and then I had an idea down here. There's kind of see this window gap here?
Mm-hmm.
This would be really nice to fill, maybe with another giant bird of paradise.
Right.
Because obviously you got a little damage on the wall. You can hide that. You've got a chain link fence in the background. That doesn't look too missiony. But you
Right.
could literally just change this whole area here by planting one right there.
Yeah.
That might be, maybe one on you, or maybe just one right here, and then let the palms fill in on this side. And then one more thing. Got this sign here. I noticed this earlier. And you have, this is sort of a framed entrance here. And I know you have that tree there, but I would consider planting like something like a trachycarpus palm here, and one over there to match to kind of show the frame of the entrance. That would be a really pretty thing to do.
The only thing with something tall here is that when traffic comes this way, we like them to see the sign.
Oh no,
what I
but
think.
you'd miss it. You just put the tree.
Oh, in the corner.
It would just be a trunk. I mean, well, when it's younger, if you get a young one,
But if we put it far enough back.
yeah, you put it right where this hose is right here, you'll still be able to see that sign.
Yeah.
And then eventually it'll get above it, and it'll only be 6 inches of trunk.
The trunk. Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be cool to frame this entry up here. But yeah, those are some cool ideas. The other thing you could do, you see this woman going up the staircase over there? See her? Right over there? another bird of paradise, a giant bird of paradise there on your side, and then that would hide that whole building.
The other building, yeah.
Yeah, and then it would just focus more of the visual attention to your garden where you want your people
At some
looking.
point, we need to replace this wall because it's.
I
you
see.
can see the break.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's offset.
It's like a fault line or something.
One side is going to lean, so eventually it'll fall over onto somebody's car.
Put a big sign that says "Park here at your own risk."
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. All right. Well, this is really beautiful. We need to go see the interior of the courtyard there. And I know you had a spot where you lost a palm, or you took one out because you didn't like it.
Yeah, it was.
What kind was
a
it?
little bit unfortunate in some ways. It was, sometimes like can happen is like somebody gets a wild hair and says, "We're gonna take this out."
Oh wait, I had another idea. Not to interrupt you, but you see that fence?
Yeah.
That is hideous for this place. That is a travesty upon this wonderful sacred place. And ideally, that would be a really beautiful. You could talk to a very religious Spanish wrought iron guy and make a really cool arch, and maybe even write 1821 in it, or the 1812, founded 1812, or something cool.
Yeah.
And beautiful gates. Now,
Good
short of
call,
that,
yeah.
maybe the guy donates the whole thing, right? That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, what you can do is paint that whole thing black really carefully so you don't get the walls done, even the gates, everything except for the signs you have to have there.
Right.
And then on this side, you'll plant your vine, a nice, maybe a bougainvillea that will grow up and just get into the top of that thing. And now it's all black, so you don't really notice as much, shadowy. And then you have this beautiful bougainvillea arch over the top of it.
Yeah.
You could even take some rebar and fish it into the mesh and have it go over to the other side, so there actually is an arch right there. So you could tie the vine up to it.
Yeah.
And
that's
wouldn't that be cool? That would cost you. That would cost you like $100.
And
$50 for the bougainvillea, and maybe $50 for the paint.
And these are the things you don't notice.
No, when you're here every day.
Right, exactly.
You just keep seeing the same stuff, you don't really. Yeah, but we could make this. I've been driving by this mission for 20 years going,
Oh, really?
man, we should turn that thing into a crazy exotic botanical garden.
I just figured you're an East Bay guy, and that was that.
No, I get around. I'm all over. I'm a semi-nomadic botanical mercenary. I go wherever they tell me to go for a big bag of money. So, yeah.
We just,
I
I
see
don't
the
have
bells.
any of that. So.
Look at the bells.
We just reinstalled Father Junipero
Oh, nice.
Here.
Is that a new fence?
It's a new fence. Yeah.
That's horrible.
That's
what you got to do now these days.
It is, and so he was removed from down here by a protest.
Are you
and
during the protest?
During the protest, so there's some.
See, now if I was dictator, you know what I would do? I can't see on camera what I would do to those people.
Well, the thing is, so we got what they were saying was that they didn't want it right on Fifth Avenue. So, okay, yeah, because it's kind of just right in everybody's face.
Well, you ever heard of give them an inch, they take a mile?
I have heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, I'd heard of that.
We gave them about 30 feet, and so we put it back here.
Well, it looks really good there, except for the stupid fence.
Stupid fence. I mean, hopefully at some point we can take it down,
You know what would be even better? Not to critique everything you do here. If you could somehow get funds to elevate that so that his pedestal is above that fence, and then plant a bunch of beautiful. What you can do is you have this lantana down here. You can't see it anymore. Well, you can see it down there a little bit. But plant lantana, that's a very well-behaved vine, into that fence. So you don't even see the fence. You just see this big block of lantana and Father Sarah above it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true.
That's what I would do. Sorry.
Or my thinking too was lower the fence about 6 inches would help, also.
Well, I think people would say, then what's the purpose of the fence?
Now we can get in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're going to work on.
You could even plant a thorny roses all around.
That's our plan.
Yeah.
We're going to do all roses in there.
Yeah, and then but still elevate the thing, but still plant You got to make that fence disappear and make it just look like that fence needs to look like its own giant pedestal.
That's the thing. It
A
takes
flower-covered
of the
pedestal.
of the view. I know.
It wouldn't take much to raise that thing, you know.
No.
It wouldn't take much.
And we used to have one of these trees there, so we took
Crepe
that
myrtle.
out.
Oh yeah.
And we might take out that one too. It's getting too big, kind of obscure.
Well, there you go. Plant a couple king palms there. They'll be well behaved and they won't block the building because they'll be silhouette. And then look at this. That's an original bell, right?
I think that is either the original or a casting of the original.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna ring it. Nice. I have something like this at my ranch. Did I crack it? Oh my god.
No,
I did. I just cracked it. Don't say anything. Okay, so here is where your palm was.
yeah. My estimate was about 80 years old. And
Well.
so the concern was that it was too close. We had some donors that were going to donate to the mission, and he said, well, if we're going to donate to fix the roof, we don't want this, like, it could fall over and break the roof. And I talked to Gary. He said it's not going to fall over, so that's not a concern.
No.
Um,
It might drop fronds. It looks
did
like.
drop fronds, and they were a little bit scary because when they came down, the thing about that is
You gotta
they
keep
would-
them trimmed.
and they would only drop in like really high wind,
Yeah.
stormy times when nobody was out here anyway.
Right.
So you'd come back in the morning and you'd see it and you go, okay, we got to clean up the fronds. I see these all over Marin here, like the Mexican, right? They plant them like along like where they sell cars down on Francisco Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that true, Gary? They really
Yeah.
love them.
Oh, yeah.
In cityscapes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great tree as long as you keep it trimmed because it doesn't drop anything. It keeps, I mean, this thing here, look at all the garbage all over the ground all the time, you know, especially this time of year. But you got to keep up with it. And as soon as you blow that away, you come back an hour later, there's more garbage on the ground. And then, whereas the palms, I mean, you know, as long as you control when the mess happens, and it's on one day when you're doing the trimming and you haul it all away, and the next thing you know, you have no drop whatsoever. That's why they're so good next to streetscapes, swimming pools, things like that are, you know, nice to keep clean all the time. And also, like I said, the most fire-resistant plant there is a palm that's really well trimmed. That one has a little bit of brown on it.
Right.
The brown does give it kind of a romantic, old-school look, but it should be trimmed off just to.
Well, we really want this to get this up above the roof line. 'Cause
That'll
we don't
happen.
Like how it's always, you know, it provides like a bridge for rats too.
Well, then you need to trim it tighter, and then, well, yeah, the rats are gonna. I mean, if it's touching the building, they can get on the building to the palm and
back
vice
and
versa.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually, when it gets above it, you could put the collar on it, and then you won't have that problem anymore.
If you trim it, does it encourage it to grow faster?
No.
you think? No.
No, if you trim off green growth, it encourages it to grow slower. It forces it to grow slower because every bit of green is conducting photosynthesis, which is creating energy for future growth. So if
Gotcha.
you cut off the green, you're cutting off the plant's ability to grow. And
Yeah.
so you're throttling it back, so to
Oh,
speak.
yeah. It's not like you're pushing it up like you might with other
Right.
trees. Yeah.
But back to this spot here, it's a little close to the building for anything but kind of like a narrow planting. There's a couple things you could kind of think outside the box. You could enlarge this thing like a bigger planter or something. And make like a stone wall seat bench, kind of like this is a kind of a seat bench,
Right.
but you can do something like that. Then you could plant a palm. Like I would plant a Chilean wine palm here if it was my church.
Right.
And then I would keep it trimmed so nothing would happen to that. Even if it was here, I'd probably plant a Chilean wine palm, but it is pretty close to here. So you could go something more narrow, like a Livistona palm or Trachycarpus, maybe a couple, like a little grove of free Trachycarpus here would be perfect because they would never encroach upon the building. 'Cause they have the very narrow profile.
There's nothing right there on that
Yeah.
wall, so.
Yeah, I would plant maybe just like two, like a trio, a small one, a bigger one, and a bigger one, like three of them together in this
Yeah,
little
yeah.
spot right here. And that would work really well. The other thing you could do is you could just plant another crepe myrtle, here, because you can see that gets to the right shape and
What
size.
that tree is.
That's what that one right there is.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're really well behaved plants. So, and look, off in the distance, we have a bunya pine. See that thing? Way up there?
Yep.
That's from Chile. Yeah, you'll see that oftentimes throughout Santa Barbara. It's a really popular plant down there.
And what were you saying? Your dream would be a Chilean.
Chilean wine palm, but ideally, the palm would be planted about here,
Okay.
off this corner. Far enough, it's like the centerpiece, like directly centered, maybe centered on this window coming out to
That's
here.
not impossible. That just
Yeah,
means
just have to
adding some
redo it.
concrete
Yeah.
there and cutting out concrete here. You know?
Right, you know, and it
This whole
doesn't
thing-
need much. I mean, all it really needs is these 4 squares taken out. And then you've got a beautiful centerpiece. And this is something this would be a total tourist attraction, like well, I'm assuming we're gonna get a little one because they're kind of expensive. But 50 years from now, you come back here, and this would be like the feature of this property, the botanical feature of the property. It would be that special.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you pictures of all this stuff offline.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so here's some fun. Now we're having some fun over here. Check it out. I've got a little bit of canna, some beautiful roses. This one here smells great. I smelled that a little earlier. And that one is Pope John Paul II. Really good one. And then the bougainvillea.
Yeah.
Gotta have the bougainvillea for the,
That actually looks great behind the statue.
doesn't it? Let's get a little, here. Is it okay if I stand on this?
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to do anything. Oh, non-kosher here. All right. So I think that we're going to end the video right now with some beautiful silent sounds. Silent sounds. You know, tell everybody to come down here, right?
That's
on
right.
down.
Come on down to St. Raphael Parish. You're welcome. All are welcome.
Archangel. Why do they call it Archangel? I love that part of it.
Archangel. That's a good question. Archangel of healing, actually.
Okay. All right. We'll call it that. All right. And so we're going to end with some silence. And Junipero Serra, well guarded in his fortress. The founder of the California Mission System in front of a wonderful Mexican-style plant, bougainvillea. After ending the video, Omar, and taking the tour of the interior, I was thinking, wow, that was really cruel of me to just show them the plants on the outside and not show them the spectacular church on the inside. I guess you call it church? What do you call it? Just a church. Yeah. Look at this. Incredible. Oops, too zoomy. Look at this. And that's just one of them. They're all along here. Stained glass.
And then get this scary too. The one up there.
Oh yeah, look at that one at the very end. Look at that. Yeah, this is cool. It'd be fun to. What about like Christmas Mass? Is it just overflowing? You
Just
can't even get in?
packed. And, actually, the Virgin of Guadalupe Day on the 12th of December is like 1,000 people. And we do the procession up the street.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, amazing mariachi music.
And look at the big, beautiful beams. Can't really see. You see them a little bit up there. It's a little dark for the camera, but and then looking through. I mean, this reminds me. This is like way bigger than I thought it would be from the front of the.
When they rebuilt in 1919, they built to here. That's all they had money for.
Uh-huh.
Here, and then about 20 years later, they put in the rest.
Oh.
So there's kind of a.
So we're kind of standing on the altar right now.
This is where
it
the
used
altar
to be.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the original. And then they got a bunch of money together. Seems like if they have enough money to buy this, they can come up with a couple $1,000 for some really cool palm trees. But I'm going to donate some little babies if they don't have any. We'll see. But look at this. This is really spectacular. All right, so yeah, come on down and visit the Mission San Rafael de Archangel.